prayed to the Lord to be like, oh my gosh, what the f is that? Y'all, I can't do this. Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So I'm out here in nature. I am in the DC National Arboretum, and I'm here to talk to y'all about personality. Now you can bring your personality on camera. I actually recorded this video before. I made the video very practical and specific, and it was full of these like specific tips that you can use to bring your personality up and bring it on camera. And I'm gonna still share those, but I realized there was a whole other part to bringing your personality on camera that I didn't quite touch on. I wanna make sure I cover that in this video. Before we get too far, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join the fam. We're growing, we're growing, we're growing. It's so fun. I got people in my comments saying lots of like, your channel's really gonna blow up. And I'm just like, honestly, I know. Because y'all look great and y'all be supporting me. So truly the growth is inevitable. But go ahead and subscribe so you can be a part of that growth, you know? And let's go ahead and get into the video. Hello. So I do want to cover some practical tips and tricks. And then I also want to talk about the foundation and the root behind what it really means to be yourself on camera. And that's kind of where we get into some of the more spiritual, personal, emotional stuff that you kind of do have to do if you want to show up as your true, authentic self on camera. But first, here are a few very practical tips that you can use. So the first thing is to actually know what gets you in your mood. Maybe you are just very calm and centered. Maybe you are really high energy. Maybe you're really thoughtful. Maybe you're really analytical. Whatever it is, whoever it is that you are, figure out for yourself what gets you in that mood to create and do the thing to get you in that mood. Like the video that I made the first time where I was super high energy, I literally had just woken up from a nap. That's what I needed, was to nap, completely recharge, and I jumped up and I was ready to just like get it from the camera and start talking. Even now, I'm out here in nature, so I've been walking, my blood's flowing, I'm in the sun, I'm creating, which gives me energy, and so I'm able to be here and create this video for you all. So find the thing for yourself that gets you in the mood. The next tip is to actually not script that much. I literally have about a page of notes that I'm not even really gonna refer to. I should probably refer to them just, you know, to honor you all. So this is my one page of notes that I'm gonna refer to. I don't do a lot of scripting. In my earlier videos I would, because I'd be like, I gotta make sure I cover all these points. But the reality is when you script, you have created for yourself guidelines. You're like, I must say these words, I must say them in this order. And if you ever mess up, you start getting in your head, you start getting flustered, you start getting awkward, and it doesn't allow like just a natural energy and light and spirit to just flow through you uninhibited. Time is people, and truly, you didn't think we were gonna go a video without mentioning him, did you? In one of his videos, he talks about how he does not prepare for any of his talks and calls and stuff. He truly just meditates, grounds himself, shows up, and lets the spirit talk through him. When I heard that, I was like, yes, that's the kind of life I want to live, y'all, where I don't do any kind of preparation. I just show up and let the spirit do the work. That feels right to me. And so I've been trying to do that ever since, and it's worked. It feels more loose, and then I find myself saying things that surprises even me, which is the best part, right? When you're saying things that even you are like, oh, that's profound. That's a really good thought. Maybe have, you know, your high level bullet points, but really just give yourself the space to just talk and let things flow out of you. On that same note around scripting, give yourself room to create. I have found that it's hardest for me when it's like, all right, you have 30 minutes, you have to finish this video and do all this stuff in this amount of time. That's when you start to feel that lack mindset, like there's not enough time. So give yourself the time to the extent that you can to actually create what you want to create, so you're not feeling rushed and pressured to show up in a certain way and to get something perfect how you want it. So I literally have given myself the entire afternoon, and that is a luxury to be clear, to have the entire afternoon. It is a Saturday, but the entire afternoon to create this video. And as a result, I'm not feeling flustered and rushed and what about this and what about that. It's like, no, it's fine. I'm gonna get it sorted. It's gonna be okay, you know? And I think what's also great about giving yourself time is you can record your videos. I'm in public, y'all, I gotta be weary. You can record your videos as many times as you need. I'm probably gonna record this video again in another setup just to have some different backgrounds and make this more like a dynamic video. And that'll allow me to make sure that I am showing up the way I wanna be showing up with the energy that I wanna be showing up as. Hey y'all, it's Chimdi from the middle, but probably earlier than the middle, halfway point in this video. Go ahead and tell me, who are you? What is your personality? If I were to meet you on the street, what should I expect, you know? I feel like at some point, do you get the energy? Do you get the vibe that at some point we're gonna meet in the street? I've had a few people leave me comments that's like, girls, when we meet, and I'm just like, I love that for you. And I'm love that for me because you're probably great. And I've literally I think I've met 3 subscribers at this point. Every time it's been awesome in its own way. So I look forward to meeting you on the street at some point as well. If I were to meet you, what would your personality be? What should I expect? All right, let me know so I can prepare myself. And then also, of course, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to see more, all that good stuff. Okay, back to the video. On that note as well is practicing. So every time you re-record a video, you're practicing it more and more. So every time you're like getting it done, you know, faster and faster, and getting to the heart of what you want to say and getting to the heart of the way you want to say it faster and faster. And that comes with, you know, in one session recording it a few times, but also comes with practice, you know, and years of making videos. You know, it'd be nice if there was some overnight thing that would help you get to exactly where you want to be. But so much of it is practice because so much of it is about returning to yourself and returning to that personality. And that reminds me of something else that I wanted to say about preparing. You don't have to prepare to be yourself because you are who you are. You don't have to do any work to be yourself. You shouldn't have to. So if you actually find that you're having to do all this labor to create a personality, chances are that's not really who you are. And it's not going to show up as honest and as authentic on camera. So if you're having to do all this extra work to create something, that's already a sign that maybe you're not on the right track. Now, I think preparing and unlearning are 2 different things. Now that I've given you some kind of practical things around personality, we got to get into the heart of the matter, which is around what your personality actually is and if you know what your personality actually is. So I was watching this video and a woman asked a question of Thomas around how she felt that these parts of herself, the parts that weren't always in charge, the parts of her that were vulnerable and actually needed help, she felt like the people in her life were not giving her that same kind of love and attention as they were to the parts of her that like was handling everything and like shouldering all this weight, right? And Thomas said something that I thought was very profound, which was, when something is clear to you, it'll be clear to us. If it is clear to you, the parts of you that are vulnerable, that need help, there is this thing and it is literally hovering. It is hovering. Okay, y'all, so but when I started making my videos out in nature, I was on the West Coast, you know, and they don't have rain over there. So the types of nature was real low to the ground. I'm in proper green nature in the East Coast. And I'm seeing all types of insects and creepy crawlies that I've never seen before in my life. And I'm just like, have we thought this through? But we must power through. For your personality to be clear to us, your viewer who's watching, it needs to be clear to you. And that means you need to know who you are. I'm literally seeing something crawl in my book bag right now, and I'm just like, do we focus on that? Do we focus on this? And we must focus on this. Okay, all right, let me collect myself, y'all. Okay, I got this. That means you need to know who you are, which is a pretty big question if you don't know who you are. And I think what can draw people to YouTube is a desire to be deeply seen, right? For whatever reason in our lives, in our communities, in our social circles, in our families, we are not getting the kind of love and attention we need. And so we are turning to the internet to get that love and attention, which can be great because you can build a very beautiful community of lovely people who are constantly telling you how awesome you are and how your energy is so beautiful and all these wonderful compliments, which I love, keep them coming. But if you are relying on external things to tell you who you are, and especially in the beginning when you aren't getting a lot of that validation because your channel is so small, that can be really tough. And so you need to know who you are when you are creating, which will allow you to show up the way you want to show up, which is just yourself naturally. So in the video that I made about spirituality and some of the surprising things like superhero powers that I've gotten as a result, I mentioned how sometimes I do smoke just a little bit before making a YouTube video, right? And that was because I myself thought, oh, there's a certain kind of energy that my YouTube audience is expecting from me. So even though I might be just like super chill that day and super whatever, they're expecting a really high energy version of Chimdi, and I know that getting high normally gives me this sort of like higher energy. I was actually watching back some of my videos yesterday and I realized that's not the case. Definitely I do have like a very high energy and I show up that way in videos, but I also have a lot of videos where I'm just vibing and I'm just like hanging out and I'm just in nature wandering around. And the video about quitting my job is me just wandering around and to me being very sad talking about the situation in my life. And so I realized, no, people love your energy, but they also love all parts of you because they're you. You're showing up as yourself. And then I actually interviewed for the Timeless Wisdom training, which I talked about, I think in that same video, which is this 2-year really intense program. The interviewer asked me if I do any drugs. And I'm just like,
I mean, I used to live in LA. Like, what do you expect?
And she said, actually, Thomas suggests that you don't do any drinking, any drugs over the 2 years. And I was like,
ma'am,
Wow, y'all really out here trying me, and I love that. And that's because, of course, it's a very intense program. You know, we're letting a lot of light in. And we know that we sometimes use drinking, drugs to suppress and to numb parts of ourselves that we don't want to face. And the whole point of the training is to actually face those things head on, confront them with love, integrate them, and heal. I was like, all right, you know, like I said in that video, I am here for the spiritual journey. So I was totally fine with that. And I also recognized that that meant that I would have to create content completely sober, which is totally fine. Like, truly the majority of my videos, I really am sober. It's just every now and again. But I really appreciated being called to be myself more, you know? I love that people are asking me to make this video because I'm kind of like, y'all, I can't have a whole video that's like, do drugs. Like, that's how you get your energy up. And like I said, I really don't smoke that much. I just really want to emphasize it's not a problem. I'm trying to get these sponsorships, y'all. I gotta like decide which parts of myself to show on video, depending on what I think future sponsors, not even current sponsors, I don't got no sponsors. Future sponsors are gonna be like, all right, what kind of girl we working with? And I want to be like, y'all, I promise,
I am wholesome.
I myself am still figuring out how to show up as my full self. And it's definitely a learning, but the more I figure out who I am and relearn who I am and unlearn the things people say I should be, the more I'm able to show up more. Like, I wouldn't even, in an early video, even reference that sweet marijuana. You know what I mean? Because I'd be like, what if one of my aunties sees this and then calls up my daddy and is like,
You know your daughter is doing drugs and is talking about it on the internet.
then I'd have to have a conversation about it. And who wants to deal with that, you know? So that really is the main bit of advice, is figure out for yourself who you are, and that way you can figure out who you're gonna show up as on camera. That can be as simple as writing a list. Like, what are your personality characteristics? What's important to you? What makes you laugh? What makes you think? What makes you cry? What resonates with you? What are the things that you love about yourself? And think about how those things show up in your life, and just kind of reflect on that before you start recording. When I make these videos, I don't think about talking to the void. Really, I'm just talking to myself. And that allows me to get very vulnerable and intimate, because I'm like, ain't nobody watching this but me. And that's what's nice about having a smaller channel, is that there is less of that pressure of what will the person think who's gonna watch this, because chances are, girl, you're gonna get 30 views. I just like to think about talking to myself or talking to one person, not a group of people, because realistically, it's only one person who's gonna click on this video and watch it. So you're really just having a one-to-one conversation with somebody. And I like to imagine that's somebody who I already love dearly, who I know already loves me. And so they are here for my nonsense. They are here for my silliness. They're here for the jokes. They're here for whatever, because they're already a fan, you know? So there's less of that pressure to be someone I'm not. I also think it's important to note how important editing is when it comes to showing up as your best self on camera. I have a ums, I have an ahs, I have a likes, I have a lot of stuff, and I just cut it all out to the best that I can. And that's also a part of what gives my videos a really dynamic energy. Obviously, like everything else, with more practice, you'll get better at editing, which will help you get better at showcasing exactly what you want to showcase it and exactly how you want to showcase it. I'm gonna hopefully make a video in the next few videos that's also about my editing approach and technique and things like that, so you can get a sense if you also want to make like high energy videos. Listen, I really wish I was one of those YouTubers who was able to just sit themselves down and just talk at a normal, like, this isn't, I'm talking fast. What if I was able to just get on here and just talk at a normal volume and just, you know, reflect with you all, and then barely edit it and then upload that and have 100,000 subscribers. Like, that's literally all I want in this life. Actually, is to be able to just sit here, talk, upload, and rake in money. Lord, can we make this happen? This is a really beautiful view. I'm gonna get a shot just looking straight up from here. If you can make that happen, if maybe you're a really soothing person and that's your whole vibe, is just being very soothing, that's honestly a great lane to be in, because the editing is not as intense. Just put on some nice, gentle music. If I could do this again, also, I might make like a mistakes I made with YouTube video, but if I could do this again, I would make a channel where my vibe was soothing. And that way I wouldn't have to do 18 hours of editing every week to get one of these videos out. This is the life I chose, and I'm not mad at it. Okay. Getting all my cardio in. Get all my cardio in right now. And then the last thing I want to share, I was talking to a friend a while ago. We were talking about relationships, and I could tell she didn't understand how great she was. And so I asked her, I was like, do you think you're great? And she said, you know, I mean, I think I'm all right. I think I'm fine. And I asked her, I said, okay, so imagine you were dating some man, and one of his friends asked him, so tell me about your new girlfriend. And he was like,
I mean, she's alright, she's fine.
like, can you imagine how trash that would be and how whack that would feel? If that's how the person who was supposed to love you, that's how they felt about you. You are supposed to love you. So how do you feel about yourself? If you understand that you are beautiful and wonderful and talented, and whatever it is that you have to share is worth hearing and is valuable and you deserve to be seen and to be heard, that will show up on camera. And that is how you'll feel comfortable being yourself, because you'll feel that who you are is someone who's worth listening to. But if you yourself don't believe it, if you yourself aren't convinced that what you have to say and how you want to say it is inherently valuable, that's going to show up to us. And that really speaks to that idea about like what's clear to you will be clear to us. So if you haven't done that emotional, spiritual work to understand that who you are is beautiful, what you have to say is interesting, the reason creating is on your heart is because you have something incredibly valuable to give us. If you aren't convinced of that, we're not going to see it on camera. So that's the real work that you have to do, and that is a lifelong healing journey that I'm currently on. That really is the actual core of showing up as your personality on camera. It's understanding that you have a great personality, who you are, whether you're quiet, calm, excitable, nerdy, like whatever it is, you should show up as that because you are made that way for a reason. That is necessary for our world, and when you show it to us, we'll be better for it. That is the video. I hope you liked it. I hope you got some value from this. I'm trying so hard not to scratch myself, y'all. I know these animals are getting at me, and this was truly the life I chose, and I don't know if I'm gonna choose it again. You know, I really want to choose it again, but I don't know if I will. I'm gonna be honest. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to see more. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bye.